All right, welcome to week 4 of our NFL League Pick'em series. I am Chris, and joined with me is my friend Jason.
Hey, Chrissy. Glad I was invited back after my week 3. It was maybe not so good. Shamed myself, probably shamed you, shamed my parents, shamed my ancestors, shamed my ancestors' ancestors. But
Yeah,
somehow you still wanted me here, so thanks.
looking into deporting you after this week.
Well, I
All
mean, my week
right,
3 may have been embarrassing, but it wasn't as embarrassing as our take 1 of this video, where you somehow thought there were 17 games last week.
yes, this is in fact take 2.
You claimed I was 5 and
I
12.
do suffer from some. Yeah, I made him lose more games than there even was games played somehow. I don't know. Anyway, to recap, I
Nothing
again
but the
won
finest
9 and
analysis here.
Yes, I again won 9 and 7 this week, like last week, and Jason went a miserable 6 and 10, somehow outdoing his previous week of buffoonery. And that brings
A
us
9 and
to
7 is not exactly a good record, but in the scope of what an absolutely crazy NFL week this was, and how many underdogs actually pulled it off, I got to give you your flowers for going over 500.
and I'll
What can I
take him
say?
because that was some insane upsets this week.
Yeah, the NFL script writers, I think they're on meth or something this season. They are, they're giving us things that don't have a shred of believability.
So that brings us to a season total of 30 and 18 for your boy Chrissy and 26 to 22. And I extend my lead to 4 games on the season. And
After some of your math in the last few minutes, I don't know that I can trust it, but I do know that you're ahead of by 4 games, so I guess it sounds
yeah,
right.
I did that part right, I promise.
All right, all right.
All
You
right, so
didn't have
that's
like 51 games in 3 weeks.
we'll get there. That takes us to our week 3 recap. We'll just barely go over some of the interesting ones. Don't have much to say. We'll try
Yeah,
to
what's the
make this
deal?
segment shorter and shorter every week. I don't really want to do this part for 20 minutes. So, what
Right.
the highlights are, I think it was a pretty good call. The Jets would beat the Patriots. I don't think it was much of an upset. The Giants beat the Browns. Maybe, maybe not. They're both a
Yeah, I think
little.
we were just surprised that the Giants were able to like put together a competent offensive game after the showing in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Cleveland looked just as bad as we expected.
Yeah, and this was one of the ones we both said Cleveland would win. We were both making
We
fun of
both
the
thought
Giants.
we did. We both thought that the Giants would come out really flat after they lost their Redskins last week.
And then in the
The
next one,
Commanders, sorry.
yes, and then Bears losing to the Colts. I think we both also picked Chicago as the hot hand to win this one, but we were also both wrong.
Yeah, just tell me what you thought were like the few most interesting games from last week.
Uh, I don't know. I just kind of go them as we go 'em, you know.
All right. We had surprising loss by Houston to Minnesota. Minnesota looking really, really good.
I don't think it was surprising. These teams were both 2-0, but it is surprising how one-sided it was.
Yeah, I mean Minnesota's definitely the most surprising great team in this league right now.
Yep, and then the first of my shockingly awesome picks this week, the Eagles. You could even
Okay, we
call
don't
it
need
an
your life
upset
story.
by the Saints, and I think it was a daring pick because the Saints were as hottest team as you could be right now, and they were upset most assuredly by the Eagles somehow with that defense.
Yeah, that was definitely a game where both teams made some mistakes and gave the other team the opportunity to win. It wasn't like they played badly; they're two good teams, but really like both teams missed opportunities, and New Orleans just missed too many of them.
Yep, and then here comes genius pick number 2. The Steelers were not a fluke. The defense holds strong for a third game in a row, and the Chargers were poop.
Yeah, Chargers just falling flat was a little bit of a surprise to me. I haven't been able to put my finger on them the whole season. Pittsburgh looks good. I don't think that they thought I don't think anybody thought they had the answer at quarterback, but they're clearly doing well enough, with what they've got.
Then we got this lunatic upset by the Broncos that we were both wrong about how they upset Tampa. Just came out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, this knocked out the most people in my survivor pool this week, which is down to 4 people out of 200 after 3 weeks. I got knocked out on the Cincy game, but most of the eliminations were on Tampa Bay. This was Pretty surprising given how great they looked in the first 2 weeks. I don't know. Do you think that Tampa Bay's for real and had a bad game, or do you think that maybe they were overrated? Because I think they were overrated.
I think they're
I don't think they're bad.
overrated, but
Yeah, but not bad.
that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. I just don't think they're
Right.
as good as the hype.
They're probably the best team in Florida right now.
That's hard, yeah.
I mean, look, you have 3 teams that
Yeah.
all show flashes of we're good, right? Between the Buccaneers, the Jaguars, and the Dolphins. It's always
Yeah.
kind of interesting, who's going to be the best and who's going to be the worst one in Florida.
And then my final genius pick, we got the Packers beating the Titans, and I wouldn't really call this it was a toss-up, let's be honest.
Yeah, I picked the Titans to win 3 games this season. They've lost 3 games this season.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah. You've been on the opposite side of every week you've picked them with us?
I've picked them every single week,
okay.
and I've lost every single week in the Titans game.
You keep saying that they're, yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely not tea time for me.
And then maybe perhaps the most shocking game, after the Raiders upset the Ravens, the Panthers with Andy Dalton now upset the Raiders. And,
yeah, I mean, my WhatsApp chat this week was basically, how many different ways can we state that pause it for a sec, please. I'm getting a call from my doctor.
All right, we're back. Brief medical timeout by the refs there, but we're continuing our.
Let's go to the blue medical tent.
Yeah,
never just the medical tent, always the blue medical tent.
Lord knows what they do in there. All right, next up we've got the Dolphins traveling to Seattle here in a game that surprises no one. They got annihilated.
Yeah. Look, I knew Skylar Thompson was going to be bad. I didn't think he was going to be that bad, but oh boy, watching him toss the ball 6 feet in the air and 2 feet forward was really sad.
You'd never know they had Tyreek Hill in that David Acne guy.
David Acne, also known as Devon Chan. Quickly about the Panthers, my whole WhatsApp chat over the Sunday was basically Bryce Young career is over after they saw Andy Dalton play a competent game on the Panthers.
He did the same thing last year when they brought in Andy Dalton too.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Miami came out really, really flat-footed. Seattle didn't even look that good. In particular, their offense really could not get past Miami a lot. But when your opponent scores 3 points, you don't need to do a lot to win.
Well, people have been calling this Legion of Boom too.
I mean, certainly Legion of Boom 1 was all about the defense, but I'm not entirely sure I'm convinced that the Seahawks are going to be a Super Bowl team again.
Oh yeah, I don't believe that, but playoffs definitely not out of the question.
Yeah, I mean they're in a very tough division, obviously.
That's true. Okay, next up we've got the Lions barely edging out the Cardinals. We both picked the Cardinals. Not a lot to say about that. And then we got to the painful game.
No, we had the Lions. We actually got this one right for once.
Yeah, didn't I say that we both picked the Lions?
You said we both picked the Cardinals.
I said that? Oh, I'm sorry.
You said that.
Okay, this is one of the few ones we both picked correctly this week then.
Not too many of them, yeah.
Unfortunately, that also extends to the next game. We both also picked the Ravens to beat the Cowboys. Be still my beating heart. I'm sorry. It was an ugly game from start to finish. Don't let this score fool you. They were all garbage time points. Suddenly our defense came alive in the fourth quarter and got 5 3-and-outs. So there was 19 unanswered points, but this was 28-3 for 3 quarters or something. And yes, we made the Ravens sweat a lot at the end there, which is more than I can say about the Dolphins. But it was just ugly, man. And people are. I've heard rumblings that Mike McCarthy could be out on his ass if they have another first half collapse like this, like they have the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, an ugly loss is an ugly loss. It's nice that the Cowboys showed a little bit of spirit at the end, but they were never in position to have a shot to win this game. And
no, they actually were.
They essentially were not, though. Baltimore was letting them have a couple touchdowns.
No, if the Ravens did not get that last first down and the Cowboys got it again. All they needed was a field goal to tie, and they got like the best kicker in the league.
That's a weird looking Justin Tucker they've got.
Okay, he's
I
like
know that
14 out of
I know that
14
Mars
on
really
50
good.
or more.
I know that Mars really good, but I don't think that Baltimore was ever in danger of letting this go. And I watched that game because, man, my other game was Miami, and I didn't want to watch that after a couple quarters. But no, I watched the entire second half of the Ravens Cowboys game. The Cowboys were never in any danger of taking that away and accidentally scoring a win here.
All right, next up,
You
we've
know,
got another surprising upset where the Rams get the comeback win over the 49ers. I
this
wasn't able to
was
watch
shocking.
this
They
game,
were
but it
down
was
by
pretty.
3 touchdowns. This was shocking.
Yep. You got anything bad to say about Sean McVay?
I did not get to see this game, unfortunately. It wasn't on in my market. So I don't know how it went. Except that it was some really nice rushing from Kieran Williams when I was looking at the updates. Who, by the way, Sean McVay constantly insisted on playing Cam Akers over Kieran Williams for a couple of years. Uh, Look, I mean, great effort by the Rams. Down both Puka and Cooper. Can't take anything away from them. Obviously, the 49ers are down Brandon Ayuk and CMC, but everybody in football thought that the 49ers were going to take this.
No, Brandon Ayuk's fine. It's Debo Samuels, George Kittle, and
Uh,
McCaffrey that are hurt.
yeah. Sorry, CMC and Debo is who I meant. Kittle really, obviously he's very good in the blocking game, but hasn't been big in terms of actually his receiving production for a little while now.
Actually, the first 2 weeks he had over 10 or over 15 points in fantasy.
Sure, but it didn't come with great production on the field.
All right, next up, we had a surprisingly, shockingly even close game between the Chiefs and the Falcons, and I'm a big Kirk Cousins fan. This was very close. The Falcons were up a couple times in this game, basically. This came down to the wire. The Falcons easily could have won this, but that Chiefs magic, what are you going to do?
Yeah, Chiefs are just such a clutch team. But you do definitely have to give some credit to the Falcons for playing them so close. The Falcons, I think everybody came into this season saying they might win 5 games. I don't think too many people were really taking them for real, and they look legit. Good for them. But it all looks the same in the loss column.
Yep. And then for our Monday night doubleheader, we had an absolute obliteration of the Jaguars right from the word go. Like 30 points scored in like the first quarter or something by the Bills. Just absolute demolition. I have Josh Allen. He made like 67 fantasy points in my league.
Yeah. Sure, the Jags look terrible, but Buffalo, aside from that first 2 to 3 quarters of the first game, has looked so impressive this season. I don't think they really lost a step from losing Stephon Diggs. Allen can scramble and hit receivers from anywhere, and those receivers make good catches. Their ground game is solid, and their defense is playing lights out most of the time. Buffalo is honestly looking like they might be the ones to beat this season.
That'd be pretty cool. My dad's so super excited. He's a Bills fan. And that brings us to our final game and final crazy upset. I guess it's not too crazy because the Bengals have been pretty flat-footed for this season.
This was pretty crazy. They looked fine in their 2 losses, particularly the one in week 2.
Well, as you say, it's all the same on paper.
Oh man, yeah. First of all, this was the first time since 1940 that neither team punted or turned over the ball.
I heard
which
that,
is absolutely crazy. Yeah. But what was equally crazy was that Cincinnati did not stop Washington one time. I believe every single possession that Washington had, except ones that were essentially kneel downs at the end of the halves. Every single one, I think, was a touchdown, except they had 1 field goal in the third quarter. 3 for 3 on 4th down, and essentially just could not be stopped. Jaden Daniels looked really good. Looked a little bit like a poor man's, maybe not even a poor man's Josh Allen, in the way that he was extending plays and then hitting receivers.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too high on him from one game, but this is the first game that I really got to watch most of him play. Most of the time that he was on the field, and he really impressed me. What did you think?
I mean, it was definitely impressive, and the Cowboys don't need any hard times over in the NFC East. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely looked impressive. Definitely from the previous game where he got like 9 field goals or something. So,
Yeah, it's still hard to believe that the Commanders might be for real, and I still don't, but I think I might be proven wrong.
well, did all of your team insignia games win? I wasn't even keeping a track of any of that.
Okay, so yeah, this was not a great call. It was less about the win and more about the margin of one of the teams who get blown out. It was actually only 1 for 5 of big spreads. Most of those games with initials on their logo were close, but 1 for 5 was still better than your prop bet, where there were no teams that even had 2 defensive touchdowns this week.
Well, I'm glad you
Uh,
kept track of that because I wouldn't even be able to tell you.
yeah, you thought that 3 different teams would lose with 2 defensive touchdowns, which I'm pretty sure has never happened in NFL history. You could probably count the number of teams that have lost with 2 defensive touchdowns on one hand, in all of history. But that was definitely a bold prop bet you made, and it just wiped out.
Better than yours. Yours couldn't even understand.
I went 1 for 5 at least.
All right, that brings us to week 4. I'm gonna switch over, and I haven't really looked at the matchups for the most part until now. Very tired last night.
All right.
Okay, first up we've
Make
got
yourself
Thursday.
up, man.
Yep, Thursday night football. Hopefully, we got the Cowboys going to New York, and I have to believe in my heart of hearts that this will be the rebound game. So I have to pick the Cowboys. This will be the game their defense comes back out of the sarcophagus, you know. So yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys 100%.
Oh, they're so deep in the catacombs. Can we believe in the Giants after their nice win last week? No, no, we can't. I'm picking the Cowboys as well in this divisional matchup,
I
and I
know
think
that
it's
was
gonna
hard.
be. I think it's gonna be probably a snooze fest, maybe like a 17-7 kind of game.
Okay, and then next up, we got a real interesting one here. We got the still pretty hot Saints against my boy Kirk at Atlanta with the Falcons. Wow, this one's really tough for me. I really want to root for Kirk, but I know the Eagles did a really good job of dealing with the Saints, but I'm not sure if the Falcons will be able to repeat that success. But I'm throwing it in. We're going with Kirk. He looked good against the Chiefs.
Wow, the crazy upset pick will be duplicated. I am also going with Atlanta. I think that at home against a Saints team that might be questioning themselves after last week, I'm just feeling like Atlanta has it. I think they're pretty healthy. They've really showed us something in the first 3 weeks. I think that they're for real. I'm gonna match your upset pick on that one.
Yep, Falcons are going to look at that Philly tape and they're going to figure it out.
All right, now the most disappointing team in the league versus the most disappointingly not terrible team last week. We've got the
Okay.
Bengals and the Panthers.
Yep, at Carolina, and it's a new quarterback in town, Andy Dalton, whose former team
Yeah,
is the
who's
Bengals.
returning to his old quarterback in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is actually crazy because Andy Dalton, well, it's as we're saying, Adam Thielen just went on IR, and that's his big target over there. So, I don't know. The Bengals, I guess I got to say the Bengals. They'll be just confident enough to not let the Panthers, scoop it by somehow. But it'll be harder than they thought.
3 heartbreaking losses for the Bengals, all of which they probably deserved, but it's the Panthers, man. It's the Panthers. Las Vegas is the type of team that can beat anybody or lose to anybody, which they proved last week. I'm going to consider that the Panthers win over the Raiders as a fluke. I think I have to go with the Bengals. You had the Bengals too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Right. We're
right,
picking the
next
3
up,
for 3.
we've got the Rams traveling to Chicago against the Bears. They're both 1-2. And Rams got that big upset last week, and the Bears were kind of upset last week. Oh, this one's really tough too. It's not like either of these teams have are looking super clean, super good, have been super dominant or anything.
Yeah. I think we know that the Bears are a good defense against weaker teams. Then we just have to look at the Rams and say, do they still have something with their injuries, or was last week a fluke comeback?
I don't know how they got that. Not only beat the 49ers, but got the comeback with all the injuries the Rams have. But I'm saying it was a fluke. The Bears defense will stay strong. I'm picking the Bears for this.
This is so hard to figure out. The Rams defense definitely looks very weak at certain points and very strong at certain points. They've got blown out at times, for example, in week 2. My heart wants to take the Rams here. I don't know whether my head is going to allow me to.
Just do whatever you're getting all that Titans advice from.
What do you want me to see? You just want to see me go 0-16 this week? I'm going to pick the Titans in every game, even the ones they're not playing?
I said you wouldn't top it. I still think you won't be able to do worse than you did last week. Or this week, I mean.
Yeah. This really feels like a coin flip. I'm gonna take the Rams. I just think they, even with a couple of seriously talented injured wide receivers, I still think they have more talent on paper than the Bears do. And I feel like the Bears are a team you might be able to put it together against. I'm taking the Rams.
All right, next up, we've got the red-hot 3-0 Vikings against the surprisingly good Packers without Jordan Love at Green Bay.
We've both been burned by picking against Green Bay recently. Are we willing to do it again?
I picked Green Bay. You were the one that kept picking the Titans.
Okay, but in week 2, you took Indianapolis.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I'm sorry. I'm without Jordan Love. I don't care how well the Malik Willis guy is playing. I got to give it to the Vikings. It'll probably be close though. Sam Darnold's just playing above everyone's expectations.
Is Jefferson healthy right now?
I think he's back. Yeah.
This is a hard one. Really kind of a lot of close matchups between teams of equal skill levels this week. I'm going to take the Vikings as well. I think what they're showing is actually pretty legitimate. And we'll see that against a fairly tough Green Bay Packers matchup at home for the Packers. The Packers always play better at home. We'll see whether the Vikings are for real or not. I'm gonna pick them for now.
In my fantasy league, the Vikings have the best defense right now in terms of points.
Well, Dallas had it for 1 week, but we saw what happened to them since.
Yep. Next up, we've got Jacksonville coming to Houston, and even though the Texans looked bad against a good Vikings team in that loss, I still think they got plenty of confidence left in the tank, whereas the Jaguars, I think, are going to extend their losing streak to 9 games.
Yeah, the Jaguars are just what the Houston offense needs to recover right now. There's so much talent there, and sometimes they're a little bit off sync. And a good defense will make you pay for that. Jacksonville's defense, I don't think, is going to make Houston pay for that. This is going to be a get-right game for Houston, where I think they can put up 30, 35 points. I think the Jacksonville offense will put up more than the 10 that they managed against the Bills, but it's not going to be enough against Houston's talent.
All right, next up, we've got the not-so-great Steelers offense, but searing hot Steelers defense going to Indianapolis against the Colts. And I'm going to stick with the hot hand. They're going to find a way to score 10, 14 points, but I'm going to go with that defense that's held everyone to under 10 or less. Maybe the Colts, maybe Anthony Richardson will, look good again or something. I say no. The Steelers will keep running it.
Yeah, Richardson has been inconsistent and has not looked great. Whereas I think the Steelers D is very well kind of suited to matching up against him. Not only like hold the theoretically impressive Colts running game in check, but to also pick off Richardson if he makes bad decisions. Uh, Pittsburgh is 2-1 or 3-0 now. Are they 3-0?
Yep, they sure are.
That is crazy to think that the Steelers might actually start this season 4-0. But
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that in this matchup it is gonna happen.
I think the
Yeah,
Justin Fields magic will wear out eventually, but for now, the defense is good enough to cover it.
I'm looking at the Mudang meme right now, and it looks like the 5-3-0 teams are the Chiefs, Steelers, Seahawks, Vikings, and Bills.
That sounds right.
And Mudang is looking very surprised at that.
So, who are
Yeah,
you picking?
I'll take the Steelers in a close game actually.
All right, next up, we've got the Broncos, who got a crazy win over the Bucks last week, coming to New York to play against my boy Aaron and the Jets. And I say, fuck you, Bo Nix. It was a fluke. My boy Aaron is gonna torch these Broncos, and Brees Hall and the defense will come up strong to go with it.
And I wish I could say "fuck you, Aaron Rodgers." It was a fluke, but instead, what I'm going to say is "fuck you, Aaron Rodgers." You're actually pretty good.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that was probably a bad call by me. I really thought that he'd come out looking really flat-footed this season, if he even hung in there for 3 weeks. And what I saw last week, I was pretty impressed with. I hate to say it, because
I will bask in those words.
he is just an absolute like black hole, of class. There is no class there, but uh, yeah, he looked pretty good in every way. He's still throwing, balls sometimes to receivers that can't do a lot with it, because of the way they're covered. But he puts it in such a good spot that it's usually enough for first downs anyway. Um, So it breaks my heart to do this, but I am gonna have to take Aaron Rodgers and the New York
Are
Jets
you
in this.
sure? Come on, man. Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix. All right, next up, we've got the Philadelphia 2-1 Eagles going to Tampa against the also 2-1. And this one's pretty close because I think both these teams can be hot, do have a good ceiling, but I think they both also have a lot of fallibility. What do you call that?
Yeah, I think it's fallibility.
Fallability.
Fallibility.
Yes, they both have a potential low floor also. I expected the Eagles to actually be a lot more competent right out of the gate, but that hasn't really been the case, regardless of the fact that they're 2-1. Ugh, this is tough. Both these teams, I feel like, are in like the exact same spot right now, almost. I think I'm gonna give it to the Eagles, just because Saquon Barkley has just been dynamite.
Yeah, this really is a tough one. I think a lot of the games this week are kind of like a almost like a Rorschach test, right? Like, what do you believe that a team's narrative is, or like, how did you look at that team before this season?
Well, be exciting
Um,
to see who comes out on top then.
Yeah, it really is. I think it tells us a lot about what we thought we knew and a lot about what we actually knew. Ooh. So you've got the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles just have such an incredibly high ceiling and they've been playing sloppy. Can Tampa Bay be great at home? I believe that they can. Do I believe that they're going to beat the Eagles, who might not necessarily be better at home and might actually be better on the road?
I'm not really a believer in the home field advantage narrative. I know a lot of people are like, well, can talk that up, but I
I
don't
think
really
more than
believe it.
anything, the fact that the refs just don't want to piss off the home crowd and look really stupid tend to be a little bit biased towards the home team in the first half of the game, and usually the second half they're biased towards just whoever's behind.
Well, you tell that to Kirk and the boys. Chiefs got the most blatant pass interference call, non-call, to win that game, man. And that was in Atlanta.
I'm not saying they can't make mistakes in either direction, and usually the refs are pretty good, but usually where I see bias, it's towards the home team or the team that's behind. Um, I am gonna take Tampa Bay at home, and I'm not at all confident in this. I think really either team can do anything here. But just for the spicy pick, let's take the Buccaneers.
All right, next up, the surprisingly 2-1 Redskins against the Cardinals at home. And I've been giving Kyler Murray shit all season and all of last season, and I will
Tell
continue
us how
giving.
wrong you are.
What?
Tell us how wrong you are.
No, I'm gonna pick the Redskins for this.
All right.
Again, I'm gonna say that the Mr. Jaden Daniels, I think his name is gonna keep on improving or maintain his current level of competency, and I think they're gonna beat the Cardinals.
Whew. This is the same house of cards that threw a 4 touchdown lead against Buffalo week 1 and got their. But also the same house of cards that blew out the Rams by 40 points in week 2. What are we supposed to think about them, man?
I don't know, man. I just I think they're too inconsistent. I think both these teams. I think it could be a very sloppy game. I think it could be a shootout. I think it could be like 6-9. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think at the end, I think Redskins got it.
The Commanders did just do such a good job on the road last night. Man, you would have asked me this yesterday, I would have absolutely taken the House of Cards to win this game. I think after what I saw yesterday, I think Washington might pull it off, whether it's with 7 field goals or 5 touchdowns. They still have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, but you're right. I don't know that Kyler Murray is going to be able to punish it so much. I'm going to take Washington.
All right, next up we've got the Patriots heading to San Francisco against the also 1-2 Niners of all things. Both teams have the same record. Who would have thunk? I think the Gerard Mayo magic is emptied the tank. I don't think the Patriots have any more close competitive games that they weren't even expected to have in the first place. I think the Niners will rebound on this one regardless of who they're missing. And George Kittle will be coming back this game. So.
Yeah, whatever weird voodoo magic was used against the 49ers might be wearing off too. I can't imagine them losing a third game this early in the season at home to the mediocre Patriots, taking the 49ers all the way.
Next up, we've got Kansas City heading to Los Angeles to play against the Chargers. You keep talking up the Chargers, and I keep talking down to him. I don't know. I don't really think the Chargers have been good in the Herbert era, personally. People blow more smoke up that guy than almost anyone, maybe other than Kyler Murray. But no, I definitely got to give it to the Chiefs. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams that could push the Chiefs. I don't think the Chargers are one of them.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's that many teams that can push the Chiefs, right? You know, even if you get it within 7 or 8 points, you know, often the Chiefs were kind of in control the whole game. It's so hard to actually take them off the field when they just want to be on the field rather than putting up points quickly. To me, this is not a close game. Chiefs all the way.
And then another divisional games, we have the Browns going to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. They're both 1-2. Both have had some surprising wins, and both have had some ugly losses.
One of these teams is not the Browns.
That's right. You're right. I got to go with the Raiders because Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson, and that's about all you got to say. He could just,
Browns.
They're going to wheel him out of the field one day, so it's like, what are you going to do?
Going to be on a $280 million stretcher.
Exactly. So you picking the Raiders too?
Absolutely. Picking the Raiders.
All right, and a very juicy and exciting night game. We have the 3-0 Bills going to play the Ravens at Baltimore. This one should be a lot of fun to watch. I don't think the Ravens are anywhere near as bad as their record indicates. They had 2 close games on their losses. As far as I'm concerned, they might as well also be 3-0 in terms of skill and on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a good game, and I can't wait to watch. I guess I got to give it to the Bills. I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, and they have looked more dominant against, like, not all the teams they played have been good, mind you.
Yeah, I mean, you can only beat who's on your schedule. So who do you have?
I have to go with Buffalo.
I'm taking Buffalo as well, and I don't even think this is a hard pick. You said that Baltimore should be 3-0. I mean, by that logic, Cincinnati should be 3-0. They had 3 close losses.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, Baltimore is just making too many mistakes. Don't get me wrong, they are a good team. But Buffalo just looks so superior to every other team they've played in every single way. Sure, they had that scare against the Cardinals in Week 1, but the fact that they were able to, come back from down like 25 points and win by 10, says something. It really does. And they've just blown out everybody they've played since. Buffalo looks so good.
I know. I'm happy for them.
I don't even care that they're playing away. They're just so good. I would not pick against Buffalo against anybody right now, even the Chiefs. Baltimore is a tier below them, taking Buffalo all the way, and they're going to be involved in my prop bet.
All right, this guy's become like a gambling addict on the side suddenly since we started doing this.
I mean, our prop bet, our prop.
All right, next up in Chrissy's garbage bowl game of the week, we have the 0-3 Titans against the 1-2 Dolphins. This is so tight, or it's hard to almost pick because both of them are basically incompetent.
Do you even know who their third quarterback is that they're going to be playing this week?
On the Titans or the Dolphins?
The Dolphins.
You mean they're going to bench Skyler?
Skyler got hurt. Skyler almost lost a lung.
Okay, well, that only solidifies my garbage bowl comment. Okay. No, I don't even know who it is.
Tim Boyle is going to be their quarterback this week.
Well, a lot of the best quarterbacks have came out in relief and then ran the table, So maybe
he definitely looked better than Skylar Thompson in relief of Skylar last week.
Tom Brady, he backed up Drew Bledsoe when he went down. Same thing with Tony Romo, Shit happens sometimes. Okay.
Tim Boyle, though.
Tim Boyle, yeah. Man, this is such a hard one to call. I guess I'm going to actually give it to the Dolphins just because Devon Akon or Acne, what did you call him?
Devon Achane. Achane, yeah.
Yes,
Achane.
Just because Tyreek Hill and Achane, I think, are just talented enough to make a bad quarterback look productive, especially Achane. I'm actually going to give this to the Dolphins just because I've seen nothing beyond life support from the Titans. So why don't you pick the Titans again?
I'm done picking the Titans. Achane was, I think, 11 rushing attempts for 27 or 30 yards or something like that last week. It was one of his 2 worst performances ever. And you wonder, whether he can change the game when they know that you're not going to be throwing a lot. But I think Mike McDaniel is still an offensive genius in a lot of ways, and I think after the embarrassment that they had last week, I think he's realized he has to change his game plan and not just keep throwing 3-yard screens to the side where people are going to be tackled. I think they're going to get more creative this week, and I'm just done picking against picking the Titans. I'm going to say Miami manages to pull out a close win at home.
All right. And then finally, we've got the Seahawks going to Detroit to play the Lions in a surprisingly good game, probably this might end up being. 3-0 Seahawks, 2-1 Lions. It's tough, actually. Shit. Yeah. This is a tough one. The Seahawks have been surprisingly competent in the Pete Carroll-less era.
You willing to invest in Legion of Boom 2.0?
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to say that they'll hand Seattle their first loss. I'm going to go with the Lions.
Yeah, Lions at home are hard to pick against. They just have a lot of tools. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe, is injured, and that definitely takes away from the Lions passing game. But Jahmyr Gibbs is still looking really good.
Yeah, and they still got Barry Sanders, Matthew Stafford. Yeah.
Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders.
Didn't he play for the Lions?
He did. He did.
Okay. And Kelvin Johnson, yeah.
And the Seahawks do have Zach Charbonnet looking really good. This, God, I was completely ready to take the Lions when I first started talking here. What did I think about it? Can the Seahawks pull this off? They certainly could. I still believe in last season's, AFC championship contenders. Sorry, NFC championship contenders.
Yep.
Playing at home. I got to take the Lions as well.
Right.
It's a really close one. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch. That's a Monday night game.
Yep.
And it's on against the Dolphins. We'll see as a hometown loyalist which game I end up actually watching.
One of those will be competitive.
I think both of them look competitive. Just one of them may be a lot more exciting than the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And for our crazy prop bets, what do you think is going to happen this week?
I really should start thinking of these beforehand. I could come up with something more clever and fun, but I always end up thinking about them last minute. All right, I'm going to say in the rebound game of his career that validates his entire contract thus far, Deshaun Watson throws 4 touchdowns, but still loses to the Raiders.
Oh, you think he pulls out the golden snitch like the Victor Crumb here? You think he pulls out the Victor Crumb where he scores big and still causes his team to lose?
That's
4
right.
touchdowns.
Someone sabotages the bludger and he still loses.
That is crazy. I'm surprised you knew that reference.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
We got a rogue bludger. Yeah.
Oh, man. Speaking of bludgers, I'm going to say that the Buffalo Bills bludger the Ravens so hard that they win by more points than is scored in one of the other 15 games this week.
They win by their margin of error is greater than
their win margin will be greater than the total number of points scored in one of the other 15 games.
I gotta be honest, I don't think that would be really hard to do, especially if there was just a low scoring 6-9 3-12 something.
I don't know. I mean, you look at like the over-unders. Usually they start coming in about 31, 32 for the lowest over-unders. I don't think that Vegas thinks there's going to be like a 13-point game this week.
All right. I like it better than your last one. That's for sure.
All right. Maybe just because you have the brain cells to understand this one.
There you go. Yeah. Room temperature IQ.
And totally not because I didn't explain it well last week.
All right, that does it for week 4. We'll see what happens, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, welcome to week 4 of Chris and Jason's League Pick'em video. Still don't know what to call this series, but we're going with that for now. And it was a very tumultuous week, not just for Jason's disastrous, Pick'em's career, but upsets as a whole. And I'm sorry. Join with me is my friend Jason, of course.
I'm surprised I was invited back after my week 3. I've shamed myself, I've shamed my parents, I've shamed my ancestors, I've probably shamed you. 6-10, ouch.
No, I calculated it was actually like 5-12.
Well, you can go fuck yourself because there were 16 games. It can't be 5-12. Unless you're counting the prop bet.
No, it's a 7-6. Oh, maybe you're right. What the hell? What did I get wrong?
All right, now you're just shaming me. I was 6-10. You were 9-7 last week. I'm sure we'll go over the details in the next few minutes. But yeah, week 3. What can I say, man? NFL scriptwriters are on meth this year. There were some really, really weird games.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I guess I don't know what I was including that I missed or something.
You had these weird cycles where, for example, like Dallas crushed Carolina week 1. Carolina had beaten Las Vegas this week. Las Vegas beat the Ravens last week, I believe, right?
Yep. Anyway, just to recap, I suppose
You had
I
some
finished.
really weird cycles,
I
yeah.
finished
Last
this
week,
week
yeah.
9-7.
And then, of course, the
Shut up!
Ravens. You're not going to cut me off before I mention the last part of it. The Ravens just demolished your Cowboys.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right.
So anyway, I finished this week 9-7 apparently again, and Jason finished this week 6-10 in a true head scratcher, and that brings us up to a total of apparently. I guess I have to change this now.
I don't know that I can trust your math anymore. All I know is you're ahead by 4 games.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I guess we got a bit of a hiccup here.
You sure are.
I need to change this. I thought I was. I guess I have to reduce this by 1, and then also
Nothing but the finest filmmaking from Chrissy here. This is some riveting YouTube TV right here.
You know, maybe we should just start this over.
No.
Yeah, I'm just.
If you want.